running mate conversation that has come up. Do you think that a running mate from the Ashanti region can make a point for any party?
Yes, looking at the dynamics this year and historically what has transpired over the years, I think that having an Ashanti, or better still opening up to an Akan as a running mate, will yield to the benefits of any candidate that tries to choose a running mate from here. Because, funny enough, the two main political parties now have flag bearers from the north. So, and generally Ghana's political landscape has always played with, the geographics and the tribal issues. So we always want to have that collective Ghanaian society being represented in governance, right? So looking at former President John Mahama and Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, all coming from the north, then clearly it has to, the running mate then comes to the southern parts. Now, if you look at the domination of Akans in Ghana, then it becomes something that they all want to have a look at. And we've all heard some of the names cropping up. And generally, most of the names coming up are Akans, or we can also say that they are Ashanti. This region will benefit the person. And
looking at the numbers as well, do you think that a running mate from the Ashanti region, just as I said, is going to add up to the victory of any political party, i.e. MPP and the NDC?
Well, I believe looking at the historical context, historically the Ashanti region has been the stronghold of the NPP. Anytime the NPP wins elections, the Ashanti region contributes massively. As you said, in the 2020 elections, the NPP put 1.700 million, 1,700,000 and something votes, and then the NDC put 650, in excess of 1 million votes. In the 2012 elections, the NPP had 1,060,000 votes. The NDC had 500,000 votes. So politically, everybody would sit down and then look at, and then the difference in numbers in the 2020 election was a little over 500,000, meaning that if the NDC gets even half of the numbers in Ashanti region, they can pull their political weight. And looking at Ashanti region, the region wields a strong political power. Looking at the diverse nature of the terrain, so you can see people voting on different reasons. We have different demographics. Some will vote for you because you align with their views. Some will vote for you because you belong to their region. Yeah, a lot of dynamics come into play. So anyone that comes or anyone that picks a running mate from the Ashanti region is definitely going to add to the numbers. Looking at the fact that we have two of the major political parties having their flag bearers from the north, I think an Ashanti region or a southern running mate is going to do the magic for the person.
All right, thank you so much. And so some interesting points from these two gentlemen we have interacted with. Having flag bearers from the north for both parties, the MPP and the NDC, they believe that if a running mate from the Ashanti region or from the southern sector is definitely going to add up to the victory of any political party. But then, do you think that is definitely the case?
All right, so I think basically the issue with running mates and on regional basis has to do with how the two parties are able to balance their regional, how do I call it, scale. Now, taking into consideration the Ashanti region, they have had a lot of political, influence over the years. If you throw back to the 1954 election of the NLM and the CPP, you can see how dominant the Ashanti region was. But then we should also take a look at the journey of the running mate so far. The NDC has been one of the parties that has been in power democratically for a number of times. Now, when you look at the choice of running mates, the dominating region has been the central region. From the 1992 election up to the 2020 election, where John Dramani Mahama picked Jay Nana as running mate. So it's now up to the two parties to now look at their dynamics. Even the MPP during Kufuor's time did not pick a candidate from the Ashanti. Same as Akufo-Addo. did not also pick a candidate from the Ashanti. He picked from the North. Now, the base here is that the two flag bearers are coming from the North. And what does it have to do, or how does it paint a picture of the whole election year and our democratic journey? It means that a party that will recognize the regional balance of how they are coming in as a party, the stance of their flag bearers will mean a lot. Now, picking the data from the recent election, Ashanti region has dominated or has rise in numbers in terms of voter turnout. It will be very ideal that they pick a running mate from this part of the region to represent any of the parties. But then the election 2024 is not going to be basically based on who comes from what region or not. Because if you are speaking from history, regional balance has always been the case. But then if any of the parties has been smart enough to look at their numbers, how many votes have we gotten from the Ashanti region so far? What is our support? Because the diverse nature of the region should tell you that every year the support for the two parties changes. And this year is not going to be different. You can say that the MPP has a root from the Ashanti region, but it will surprise you that coming into or going to the election, that the changes will be different, that you will not see that reflecting in the results. So, yeah, it will be very nice that they pick a candidate from the Ashanti region, but if you look at the data or comparatively, it is not a major factor to determine who becomes the next president of Ghana come December 7, 2024.
Right. So I'm sure you would also have an interesting point of view when it comes to this whole running mate conversation. What is your own understanding about it? Do you believe that Ashanti region definitely would have to produce a running mate for any of the parties?
Definitely, Ashanti region will have to produce, especially for the MPP, because when you look at compare the last election 2020 to what we are seeing this year. The last election, there was no major opposition from apart from the NDC in the Ashanti region. Currently, we have Alan Tremantin also running. We cannot put away the Alan Tremantin factor that even though he's left the MPP automatically, there are members of the MPP who are even seen on TV, who are even MPs who are still campaigning for Alan Tremantin. So MPP cannot. I mean what I'm saying. They cannot look anywhere else for running mates apart from the Ashanti region.
So some views there, Nana Boache Yadom, there sharing or getting the thoughts of some of those people in Kumasi in the Ashanti region, sharing their thoughts on what they expect from these elections by way of the running mate situation. But let's come now in-house. What is in a running mate? The NDC has already given a clear signal. They know where they're going. They are retaining Professor Nana Jane Opoku Prempeh. It's now left to the MPP to decide who the running mate will be for Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. Interestingly, for the first time, you have a straitjacket situation where there are two candidates, the flag bearers of the two major political parties, are both of northern extraction. Now, how they will choose their running mates will also affect electoral outcomes. To help us discuss that, dilate on the issues, we have political scientist Dr. Kwame Asante. He joins us virtually, and on phone we have Ben Ephson, a pollster. I call him Uncle. Gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning, Ben.
Good morning.
And good morning to my senior, Ben, too. Yeah.
All right. Uncle Ephson, how have you been?
Oh, fine. And you?
Nyamenadom. His Grace has found us. Yesterday was my birthday, so I'm still basking in the glory, and God has been gracious to us. But let's get into the critical matters. So far, you've seen what has happened on the political terrain. Nana Jane Opoku Prempeh pairing with John Dramani Mahama. The NPP is still to come up with a candidate, a running mate. We've been told somewhere in May that would be signed, sealed, and delivered. But for now, when you look at the political situation, what do you see, before we focus on the running mate saga, what do you see amongst both parties?
Well, I think that Bawumia will have no choice than to pick his running mate from the Ashanti region.
Oh, I see.
And if I have to bet, I will bet on Dr. Opoku Prempeh.
Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh.
Yes.
So you said two things. From where you said Dr. Bawumia, his hands are tied. He will have to get an Akan candidate from the Ashanti region. And the person you see, if you look into your crystal ball, would be Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh. But the question is, why? And mind you, when we talk of Akan, the Akan grouping, I mean, there are some in the OT region where I come from. Why not there?
You see, I think that about 4% vote on ethnic basis. Now, you pick someone from Ashanti, you are guaranteed more votes from Ashanti region. You may pick somebody else from another Akan region, you may get votes from Ashanti, but if you are picking someone, if you want to maximize your votes from your stronghold, you will have to pick someone who will bring you maximum votes. So you can pick other Ashantis. You know, there are other MPs from Ashanti region, but you will have to select somebody who will give you maximum votes. And I think that from work that I think that Dr. Bawumia's team is said to have done, Opoku Prempeh will give Bawumia maximum votes among the possible running mates from Ashanti.
And you think that is not something that Dr. Yaw Educhum can do?
Even if you take away Opoku Prempeh, I don't think, from what I have learned from the Bawumia camp,
right,
from the work they had done, I don't think that Educhum would give maximum votes. I think that if you are ranking, Educhum will be about third or fourth.
So who would be your second option?
Mensa.
Oseiche Mensa Bonsu.
Yes.
Okay, so for you, one, it must be a candidate from the Ashanti region, a running mate from the Ashanti region. Two,
yes,
you see, when you look in your crystal ball and your interactions with members of the MPP, that it likely will be Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh. And yes, if not him, then, if not he, then it will be Oseiche Mensa Bonsu. And Dr. Educhum would be like a third option, if I get it clearly.
Yes, that's right.
Okay, just to wrap on that specific point before I go to Dr. Asa Asante. Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh has been, he's been seen to be arrogant, to not have done enough when it comes to the energy sector. And some people, even within the party, feel he is not the right person. How do you react to those before I move to Dr. Asa Asante?
Oh, I think that, there are people's perceptions, and if my information from the Bawumia camp is right, I think that the research mainly focused on, I'll give you details of what I heard. The research mainly focused on about 6 leading MPs from Ashanti. And that was done even before Bawumia won the flag bearer slot. That if Bawumia was to pick a running mate from Ashanti, A, B, C, D, who should he pick? And I hear Opoku Prempeh won in all the constituencies of the other MPs. So if he's perceived to be arrogant or whatever, from the data they had, Opoku Prempeh would give them a maximum vote than all the others.
All right. Let me come to Dr. Asa Asante. You've heard the conversation. What do you make? The NDC has decided to go with Professor Jane Nana Opoku-Agyeman, and I'll get to that shortly. I want us to focus on the MPP for now. What picture do you see? Have you also got some of the information that Ben Ephson is sharing Hello, Dr. Asante. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you also hear me?
I can hear you now. Please go ahead.
Great. I think I have also, put my ears on the ground, working as a journalist and also as a scholar. What I get from the system is that, and then from where I sit as a political scientist, there's no doubt that the NPP should pick a running mate from Ashanti region. And why am I saying that? Their first bet is what Ashanti region. The second would be either Greater Accra or Central region. Any candidate from that will be okay. Why am I saying Ashanti region? If you just picking for picking's sake, that making sure that you bring everybody on board, it's not based on strategy. And of course, you can pick from anywhere in this country. But if it's on strategy and your aim is to ginger people to vote for the party, then obviously you can ginger more people in Ashanti region than any other place. So when you pick from Ashanti region, you get that type of effect. All right. So that is that. Apart from Ashanti, you can also pick from Central or Greater Accra region, being the swing regions, and they can also, ginger people to vote. Remember, these two regions, Central and Greater Accra, pull a lot of votes in terms of numbers. Look at Greater Accra, and then the swing nature of that these two regions will go a long way to help the party if they want to pick from there. But if you settle down on Ashanti region, I also agree with Senior Ben Ephson that if you look at those whose names have come up, I believe that it is Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh who stands tall. Why am I saying that? There are three factors we are looking at here. Opoku Prempeh, all of them are Ashantis, all right? There's no doubt about that. In terms of experience, they all have, all right? But Opoku Prempeh being, his mother being an Achim, the Achim members of the MPP will want to have him as their candidate. And remember, these are great forces within the NPP, the Achim group, Ashanti group. So obviously, the Achim members within the party would prefer an Ashanti who's at the same time what? An Achim. So that Achim factor will help him out. Apart from that, the Menchia factor, they are all Ashantis, but the Menchia factor is strong, all right? Being the citadel of all the things we talk about in Ashanti region, the hub. He being a member of the royal family, and the significant role of Menchia in the life of the Ashanti, it's very, very important here. So if you look at these two, apart from the fact that they all are Ashantis, these two will put Opoku Prempeh ahead of the rest. I can tell you without fear of contradiction. So if you look at this will weigh heavily against others, and it will give Opoku Prempeh the chance to lead in the struggle for this running mate slot.
Right. Let me then ask you, looking at these two factors, his persona, some say he is simply not cut out for this because of the kind of person he is. He comes across as arrogant. He rubs off wrongly on some people, definitely not all people. Some have questioned whether he has the charisma to step in those shoes, because guess what? Now, a lot more, our democracy has got to the point where a lot more is required of a vice president, of a running mate for that matter. Does he have what it takes? And I may also add this bit. Ashantis, from reports, signals, if you followed that skit we played, those we've been playing when we interact with people in the Ashanti region, specifically Kumasi, but many other places, you would realize that a lot of the time they appear disgruntled on many fronts, from electricity to roads to the state of affairs of the economy. Even chiefs have lamented openly, never before seen. So the question also is, apart from the persona and whether he has the charisma, the question also is, will making Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh the running mate change anything in the Ashanti region anyway? Will it have an impact?
Oh, yes, it will have an impact. The factors I've explained to you are the things that will cause the change, right? And those who believe, and remember, Ashantis all rally behind the institution of chieftaincy, that's the Menjia, for everything. So when somebody is from that place, it's a strong push factor that will push him into success. There's no doubt about that, right? Come to look at the fact that people are disgruntled and all that. When we're talking about internal party politics, sometimes people gloss over these things and they pick the one they think that is the right material at the right moment, right? What is it that people did not say about Nana Akufo-Addo? The same things were said about him. You recall that was arrogant, he's this and that. One would have thought that based on that, he would not even get any vote. He won massively because they believe that he's the right man at the right time to win the election for them. We will manage all the weaknesses that are associated with him and move on. That is in politics. That is what you do. Yes, you can see a suitable candidate, but there are problems here and there. What do? You manage them. You manage them for them. All those things will be managed if the person has what it takes to win the vote for them. Remember, they need more votes from Ashanti region if they really want to keep their heads above water. So if they have anybody who has all the qualities and that there are problems, let's assume without admitting that that's the case, you will realize that they will play down that and then build on the strength of that person and then package him for that exercise. That is what you are going to see.
Would you be surprised if a candidate other than Matthew Opoku Prempeh were picked? And let me put it as well in this way. Ben Ephson says he thinks Matthew Opoku Prempeh, number one choice. Number two choice, he says the number three choice is Dr. Osei Educhum. Number two is Osei Mensah Bonsu. Do you have an order, and do you also think that Matthew is number one in the rankings?
Oh, as for me, Matthew is number one. Even though I've not gone to the field, all that I'm doing based on what? Analysis and then, a whole lot of things put together.
But you say you've not gone to the field, so you don't have a sample size.
To pick
you don't have a sample.
That I can speak with my chest out saying that this person will go. But if you look at all that I have studied, all put together, I can say from where I said that Matthew is number one. All right. The others, we can talk about what JoyNews Mensah Bonsu, very fantastic man. He has worked very well, and he's a true Democrat. If you look at him, and he has, learned the ropes of politics, not only from Parliament but from his constituencies and all that. He's a giant, a very great one. You talk about Educhum has also excelled in his area of work. He has demonstrated that he has what it takes to lead anytime the call comes in and all that. But if you put, apart from Matthew that I'll put as number one, I'll put JoyNews Mensah Bonsu. Because you see, in politics...
So you also agree, JoyNews Mensah Bonsu is your number two option?
Oh, yes. Yes. If you look at JoyNews Mensah Bonsu, he has everything. Has it not been these two factors I explained to you about Opoku Prempeh? JoyNews Mensah Bonsu would have been my number one because he's so experienced in Parliament. And remember, the boiling pot of every political activity is Parliament. And he is a giant in there. And we're talking about policy. We're talking about even issues. We're talking about party organization and all that. And the man is rich in that experience. And I have no doubt in my mind that if you pick him as a running mate, look, you have a good material worth projecting to the national level. Yes, that is not to say that Educhum is not a good material. He has demonstrated beyond reasonable doubt that he has what it takes to hold that position. His experience, and then he also has ideas. He's a man of ideas, and his temperament is also, fit for purpose. And apart from all that, he also flows with the rank and file of his party and all that. The people love him, all right? So remember, in politics, you talk about popularity, and it's key. One thing that cut across these people, look at Opoku Prempeh. In certain positions, when they put you in certain ministries, they are in effect telling you that you are gradually becoming popular. And the two ministries, one of such ministries is what Ministry of what? Education. Because in every home, almost every home, education goes on. There are people in primary school, secondary school, university, so your name becomes a household name in there. So the popularity is there for all of them. In addition to that, what Dr. Opoku Prempeh brings to bear is the fact that he has moved to another ministry, which is so popular because of what? Our need for energy and the rest of them, energy ministry. So all these things go to add to all that I've said, to making this candidate a better candidate than the rest of them. But I tell you, if you pick any, I will not be surprised if they go ahead to pick somebody from, say, Central Region or East Greater Accra. That is another swing constituency that has been so supportive of the party in its agenda to either maintain power or to restore power. So you pick anybody there, you are likely to ginger people and all that. But in terms of what? Strategy and in terms of effect, I will believe that for strategic reasons, I will pick what? Opoku Prempeh.
All right.
To partner Bawumia.
Right. Right before we move from Kukrudu and go to Eyezu, just two quick questions for both of you gentlemen to address, and then we'll move to the NDC's end. But Ephson, so some have said there's very little time, and to add to all of that, the MPP has still not come forth with a running mate. Time is ticking. The clock is ticking. The NDC has already discharged its duties. And again, you look at the fact that some would also suggest the MPP is marketing two new candidates, so to speak. Vice President, he himself has said he's a driver's mate, not a driver. He's now going to be marketed as someone who can actually be in the driver's seat. That is number one. Then you have a running mate who also is coming into that situation for the first time. But you look at the NDC. They have a former president, former candidate. Akufo-Addo will refer to him as the perennial candidate. He's there. And Professor Nana Jane Opoku Agyeman was his running mate in the last election. She already has traction. How will that play in for the MPP or play out for the MPP?
Well, I think that, if you look at the results of elections, the NPP will need to maximize their votes in Ashanti region. There's no doubt. Yes, Greater Accra, Central or swing regions. But if NDC gets 32% in Ashanti, 42% in Eastern, they will win the election. Ashanti is so crucial.
Please repeat that. You're saying that if NDC gets 32% in Ashanti and 42% in Eastern, they'll win the elections?
Yes, Ashanti especially. So, there is no doubt. Even before I learned of Team Bawumia's work and so on, I knew that Bawumia will have to pick his running mate from Ashanti, and not just any pick. I think that from the work they did, all these names that you mentioned, there were about 6 names who were picked, and my understanding is that the simple question they asked was, if Bawumia wins the slot, who should he pick as his running mate? And they asked all the names in all the constituencies of the 6. So it tells you, Bawumia's team they have quite a bit of experienced people who have run campaigns before and so on. So I'm not too surprised at the choice that the team said that they would make. You see, when you come to NDC, I'll tell you one of the major problems the NDC will be facing and has been facing and has not fixed it. So picking the Opoku Prempeh, I will not be too surprised at all.
Okay. For you, Dr. Asante, I want us to wrap on that point. Little time, still no running mate for the MPP, and the fact that they are going against a team which supposedly has been marketed already. Former president, former running mate, still in place for the NDC.
Very interesting battle. But you see, if we talk about popularity, let us not deceive ourselves into believing that the fact that the vice president is now being moved to lead the party is now going to be marketed. No, he's already marketed. People know him throughout. So he's a well-known figure. This is not the time to sell him. He's already known. 2, any of them that you pick as a running mate who are going to partner him, by what I have said, the places they've worked, they are popular. If you pick Opoku Prempeh, as I've said, in politics, the ministry that they put you will make or not make you. Education ministry is the very popular ministry. So if you work there as a minister, you are a household name. You are now going. It is not the case that you are now going to market him and then let the world know about him. No, education ministry has given him the popularity and the work he also did there. In addition to that, you are talking about the ministry as he has worked as energy is also popular. Yes, there is no doubt that he has not campaigned as on the national scale that is going to be introduced to. But if you look at that, you realize that yes, it will not be difficult to sell the two candidates. They are already known in them. Come to look at the NDC. They have a cool tax because their candidates are already known, former president and then former minister. But it goes beyond popularity. For you to win election, other factors come in. 4 things must be brought to attention of everybody. 1, you need resources that will push your game to the end that you want. You need strategy that is workable, that will bring you the results you need. You need messages that will resonate with people and they'll follow you. And of course, you need manifesto that will look at all the problems that we have in this country. And that out of that, you'll be able to develop sector by sector messages, sector by sector strategy and all that. So you have to put them at national level, regional level, constituency level. Remember, constituency is where the votes emanate from. So you must have all your fingers on all these 4 everywhere, in addition to all that we have said. Then you are home and dry.
Let's focus on the NDC now. And of course, they already have their situation sorted out. It's the return of Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman. Apt, what does this do for the NDC? Retaining her. Then again, you look at the trajectory. We've had 3 of these vice presidential candidates or running mate situations. And in this sense, we have Vice President Akka, and then I guess things crumbled from the purported slap time, degenerating from there. And then he was shoved off. We had Atta Mills. We've had Pakwesi Emisa Arthur at a point, though he didn't become president. And now we have Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman. The central regional factor, let's talk about that. I'll start with Ben Ephson first. Doc, hold for me. Let me bring in Ben Ephson on that before I come to Dr. Asante.
Well, I think that, Central Region, Greater Accra are the keen swing regions. Now, let me just say here that once you pick someone from the Central Region, you are not guaranteed majority of votes from Central. That is something that, if you look at since 1992, picking someone from Central region does not guarantee majority of votes for your presidential slot.
Atta Mills learned that in 2000 and 2004.
Yes, but compare it. I've done that comparison, so I know what I'm talking about.
I'm actually corroborating what you're saying, that putting him forth in 2000, 2004, even 2008 was still a struggle. I'm actually corroborating what you're saying.
Yes, okay, thank you. And, you know, the NDC had a strong difficulty in selecting the running mate. You do maintain somebody who has been marketed, who is known in Central, who is known in other regions, or do they pick somebody from their stronghold to try and show up their vote? You know, we earlier on I had said that the Bawumia team, the work they had done 2-3 years ago, obviously that means he had no choice but to pick an Ashanti. Now, in the Volta region, in the last 3 elections, NDC's votes have dropped between 4 to 5%. What do they need to do to bring their stronghold votes up? The NDC's strongholds politically have been Volta and the northern regions. Now, in the Volta region, your votes are dropped in 4% over the last 3 elections. In the northern regions, the NPP, in the last 3 elections, their votes have appreciated 10%. So, yes, they can't pick another northerner. So, they will have to pick somebody, and in the situation that they are faced, I think that Prof. Nana, with his experience and exposure, would be their best bet in terms of. So I think that.
So the NDC got it right.
Yeah, they got it right. From data available, they got it spot on. They got it spot on because their hands are virtually tied. I'm sure they didn't want to risk it because. The other names who had come up had been, for example, Julius Deborah, who is from Eastern region and who is well known in the party. Another name which came up, Tigba Fede, even in Volta region, I don't think that politically Tigba Fede would have brought in the slump in the vote. So the NDC, given the circumstances that they have found themselves now, you got a spot on.
Dr. Asante, before I come through with my final bit, what's your take on that?
Yeah, if you look at the factors that we are considering, I believe that the NDC has also settled on a good candidate. A good candidate in the sense that you are talking about popularity. There is no doubt that from all that we have seen in terms of the work Professor Nana has done, he has really proved herself well from the academia to ministry, then to politics. And the fact that he also hails from one of the strong constituencies or region in the country. So it gives her that gravitas, that support for the party. You are talking about a game of politics and you are talking about popularity. So this counts a lot. I've told you already about that certain ministry, when they put you there, you are gradually becoming popular. And the fact that you work with the ministry, that is there. He also has been marketed before as a former running mate. And now you are bringing her on board again. He's going to be known the more. And that will also show up the support base for the NDC. If you look at some of these things that we consider for a position such as the running mate, you want to look at what constituencies that the person also is coming from, apart from his home constituency or natural constituency. All right, she appeals to what? The gender group. For the first Ghanaian woman to get to that position as a vice chancellor, having gone through all the ropes and getting there. It's a tall order, and that if you look around this country, you find only few people who can match up to that. You appeal toward the gender group. She will also appeal to well-meaning people who believe that.
Hello, Doc. All right, we seem to have lost the connection to Dr. Kwame Asante. I will try to get him back. But coming briefly to you, so look at the pairing, Mahama, Jane for the NDC, and let's assume, hypothetically, that it is Bawumia, Matthew Opoku Prempeh for the MPP. Which is a stronger pairing, Ben Ephson?
Well, I think that Bawumia Opoku Prempeh is a stronger pairing, because definitely you are picking somebody who will maximize your votes, who will give you the 75% threshold you need to cross in your stronghold of Ashanti. That makes that pairing very formidable. Yes, Central is a swing region, but if you analyze the past results of 1992, picking someone from Central does not guarantee you maximum votes from the Central region. So based on that, that pairing looks a bit stronger.
All right. Dr. Asante, are you with me? All right. I would have wanted to really get Dr. Asante on that. But Ben Ephson, so quickly, the last time we had an interaction, you spoke about your projections that you wouldn't want to make them from last year. You would want to make them this year, at least in the first quarter or a little after. Do you have any projections now? At least we know the NDC has a full set, the MPP, we have a fair idea. You've seen how things are going, the economy, education, roads, everything in between, health and all that. Can you make any projections now?
Oh, it's too early. I think if you ask me September, I'll be able to tell you. But let me tell you one thing. I think that strategically, the Mahama team made a mistake of coming out with the 24-hour economy last year. If they had brought it out, let's say, end of October, and people will still be discussing it, by the time we're voting on 7th December, they will still be discussing the 24-hour economy, such a key thing. Having brought it out over a year ago, that's now been exposed, is no more a game changer, and I think that they brought it too early, and that is really going to hurt them.
Did I hear you right, say that it was a mistake for the NDC to bring up the 24-hour economy from last year? They should have brought it this year. And did I also hear you say that it had now been exposed, its weaknesses had been exposed, and so now they'll have to find something else? Just to be sure that's what you said.
Yes.
Okay.
They had brought it end of October, with about 5 weeks to vote. If people would have still been given it the 24-hour economy advantage has fallen with time. It's been exposed over months, weeks and months. Strategically, if they had brought it 5 weeks to voting, they would have gotten a maximum vote from that as a massive...
Wouldn't that have been too late?
No, it didn't have been too late. It was, for the first few weeks, 3-4 weeks, it seemed to be a massive idea. With time, it has been watered down. At that time, 5 weeks to elections, you bring such a massive looking option policy. By the time people would have finished exposing it, tearing it apart, the swing voters would have given you the benefit.
But Ephson, look at it from practical angles. This is something that likely will go into your manifesto and all of that. They should bring it 5 weeks to elections. How will, first off, it would mean it wouldn't have been in your manifesto. It will come across as an afterthought. I don't get the reasoning on that. And mind you, Ben Ephson, Let me just say this. Free SHS.
Manifestos before they vote.
Right, but
you don't put in your manifesto. You spend it from your back pocket.
I see.
You don't put it in your or you don't put these things in your manifesto. How many people, professors, lecturers, how many people read manifestos before they vote? You don't put these things in your manifestos. You spend it from your back pocket.
But the point I'm making is you would want to talk about it, so it's something that would factor in there. And the other point, you make mention of the fact that they brought it out too early. Do you remember when President Akufo-Addo, back then when he was flag bearer, do you remember when he brought up free SHS? Practically right from the start. It wasn't too deep in the electoral year. He started talking about free SHS, and it worked for him.
Free SHS was something that was out of the ordinary. Look, you just ask, you have outlets. The 24-hour economy cannot stand on its own. If they had brought it 5 weeks to elections, I'm finishing my 7th book, and I'm finishing some work on what people will look out to vote. And I must tell you, I've just completed the last bet 1-1, and 24-hour economy is not taken for the NDC. There are others which are taken for the NDC, but not the 24-hour economy at all.
All right. Thank you, Ben Ephson, for joining the conversation. Dr. Asante, I see you back. You'll have the last word on that. The first question, which is a stronger pairing, Mahama Jane or Bawumia Opoku Prempeh, hypothetically? And the follow-up, you just heard Ben Ephson on the 24-hour economy. Basically, he's saying aponsuum. Do you agree with him? He says it came out too early. Now it's a bit, it's been torn apart. What do you think?
I'll start from the last one. I disagree that NDC brought it at the wrong time. It's the best time, and it's the best idea that will really be the game changer for the NDC. Why am I saying that? We have seen all the aspects of it which resonate with that, all right? And they are now going to put it into their manifesto.
Oh, this connection is really, because I really wanted to get his take on that. And it's interesting that they've taken different sides. And I want to hear what he has to say on that, in addition to his projection, which is a stronger pairing. I don't know whether maybe we can't reach him on phone or something just to end. Ben Ephson, thank you so much for joining the conversation. We're grateful for your time, sir.
Thank you.
All right. I don't know. Maybe we should just try to get Dr. Kwame Asante on phone to wrap up this conversation, because I want those last bits to find out what his thinking is. And as the weeks go, the months go, and as we get to election 2020, of course, then we'd be able to find out what the real situation is. But we've lost Dr. Kwame Asante, so we'll have to still have the conversation there. A lot of you are sending in some messages with interesting thoughts, but we'll see how things pan out come election 2024. I hear Dr. Kwame Asante will be with us shortly, so before I sew up, we'll just get into that. But what do you think? Share with us on Facebook, on social media. Yes, Facebook, JoyNews on Facebook. Let's know what you think. Look at this. Mahama Jane, Bawumia Opoku Prempeh. Which one do you think is the stronger pairing? Share with us as we go on with our show, and we'd be glad to read your comments. Let us know which pairing you think is stronger. For me, I've said it makes for interesting reflection. The MPP will have Dr. Bawumia Opoku Prempeh. Some say new faces, but are they technically new? Dr. Kwame Asante, you're back. You were making a point.
Yes, as I was saying, that I disagree with Ben that it came in at the wrong time. This is the best time. The best time that people, Ghanaian, will look at it, discuss it, and then pose questions to the party to respond. I also disagree that you should bring it about 6 weeks or 6 months to the election. No, then you yourself, you don't believe in the policy. I can tell you that this is a game changer for the NDC. If they are able to explain them well, which I know they will, because I'm not sure that they just threw it out there. They have studied it, and then gradually, strategically, they are releasing them gradually. If look at the conversation that it is generating, people believe that it's not workable. They are quiet once a while, they throw in something. that they sustain the momentum. And there is no doubt in my mind that if we are going for election, and that has been the case in Ghana, things that influence voter choice, number one is the economy. So the economy that we have it today, all right, will be the most important factor of discussion. Tied to what? The 24-hour economy. Not only that, infrastructure development will also occupy the attention of people. And the directive principle of state policy gives us what? The power or the opportunity to all of us to have a share of that in our areas. Not only that, issue of corruption will be brought to the fore and for a fuller discussion. And we will compare notes from what the various parties, and we see who has what it takes to address corruption, and it's not a talk shop. Not only that, but the issue of what unemployment will also feature strongly in this election. So if somebody thinks that these things are not going to work and then the 24-hour economy will not work for the NDC, I disagree vehemently. Let them wait. Let them NDC finish all their manifesto and throw it out. You will see that is a game changer for them.
So which is the stronger pairing, Mahama Jane or Opoku Prempeh and Bawumia?
The two camps have all the strong candidates. Okay. And I'm saying that it goes beyond the candidate that you have. Your strategy, your resources, your manifesto that will produce the messages, and the way you organize the election from what? National level, regional level, and constituency level. And these are all part of the process that will take you to what? The Flagstaff House or the Jubilee House in recent times.
Doc, thank you so much. Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante, thank you. We've had to go back and forth, but thank you so much for joining us again. He's a political scientist, also director of the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana. Ben Ephson is a pollster. Now, Victor Dalmeida, you've been watching from Monrovia and Liberia, but a lot of you, I don't want to get into the comments because Patrick, Fifi Asare, Avotri, Makawawa, some of you, you were taking on Ben Ephson. You completely disagree, but it's his opinion, it's his stance, and he's sticking to it. Come election 2024, we'll find out what really pans out. But also coming up, the Ministry of Education says its checks across senior high schools in Ghana have shown that there's an adequate stock of food. But heads of these schools say they are satisfied with what they have. There's been a lot of back and forth on the back of that latest JoyNews documentary, which is yet to air, but we're getting responses as far as the state of free SHS is concerned. That conversation is up next on the AM show. You want to stay for that.